They never told you this part. They showed you the trophies, the applause, the polished interviews, the overnight success stories that weren't overnight at all. They sold you the highlight reel and hid the cost. And somewhere along the way, success was turned into a fantasy instead of a discipline, a wish instead of a decision. Here is the truth most people are afraid to accept. Success is not fair, it is not gentle, and it does not come to those who wait. It comes to those who are willing to change who they are before they ever see proof that it will be worth it. Most people want success to arrive like a gift, quietly, easily, without demanding too much from their identity. They want the reward without the reconstruction. But success has never worked that way. Not for Edison, who failed thousands of times before lighting the world. Not for Carnegie, who started with nothing but an idea and a relentless obsession with mastery. Not for Lincoln, who lost again and again before history finally listened. Success does not respond to need. It responds to alignment. The world does not reward potential. It rewards precision. It rewards clarity. It rewards the person who knows what they want so vividly that doubt has nowhere to live. Napoleon Hill called it a definite chief aim. But today we might call it something simpler and harder: unwavering direction. Most people drift. They wake up reacting instead of choosing. They consume other people's dreams and wonder why their own feel weak. They copy goals they don't understand, chase money without meaning, and then quietly resent the work required to earn it. And when resistance shows up, as it always does, they call it a sign to stop instead of a signal to evolve. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The moment you blame circumstances, you surrender control. And success only answers to those who claim full responsibility for their inner world before trying to conquer the outer one. Your mindset is not a slogan. It is a structure. Every thought you repeat is laying a brick. Every belief you tolerate becomes a ceiling. And most people live inside mental architectures built by fear, comparison, and inherited limitation. They never question the walls. They just decorate the prison. But the men and women who changed history did something radical. They refused to accept the dominant belief of their time. They thought when others slept. They persisted when others negotiated with comfort. They trusted an inner vision that made no sense to the crowd but felt inevitable to them. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Henry Ford was told the automobile was a novelty. Edison was told he was unteachable. What separated them was not talent alone. It was belief under pressure. The ability to hold a vision steady while reality argued back. Because belief is not what you say when things are easy. Belief is what you do when results are silent. Clarity comes next, and this is where most people quietly fail. They want vague dreams because vague dreams don't demand immediate courage. They say they want more without defining what more costs. They say they want freedom, but structure their days like prisoners of distraction. Clarity is ruthless. It forces you to decide who you are willing to disappoint in order to honor your future. Once your vision sharpens, something strange happens. Life tests it. Not to punish you, but to refine you. Resistance appears. Doubt gets louder. Old habits negotiate for survival. And this is where discipline stops being an idea and becomes an identity. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect in motion. It is choosing long-term alignment over short-term relief. It is doing the boring work with sacred focus while the world chases stimulation. It is building when no one is watching and continuing when praise disappears. Most people wait to feel motivated. The successful understand motivation is a side effect of movement. Action is the great separator. Not reckless action, not frantic effort, but deliberate, repeated execution in the direction of a clear vision. This is where intention turns into momentum, where confidence is forged, not imagined. And still, this path is not smooth. There will be seasons where effort outpaces reward, where gratitude feels forced and progress feels invisible. This is where adaptability matters. The ability to learn without losing faith, to adjust strategy without abandoning purpose. Gratitude here is not passive. It is power. It anchors you to abundance while you build it. It trains your mind to see opportunity where others see delay. And it keeps bitterness from poisoning your persistence. Resilience is not about being unbreakable. It is about breaking and rebuilding faster each time. Every setback is instruction. Every failure is feedback. The difference is whether you listen or personalize the pain. History remembers those who learned forward. And here is the final truth most people never accept until it's too late. Success is not something you reach. It is something you become. The moment you align your thoughts, your habits, your vision, and your actions around a purpose larger than comfort, life responds. Not instantly, not gently, but inevitably, because the world eventually moves aside for the person who knows exactly where they are going and refuses to stop walking. And as you continue walking, something inside you begins to shift, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, almost invisibly. You start to realize that success was never waiting for you at the finish line. It was watching you at the starting point, measuring your seriousness, measuring how you behave when no one is clapping, measuring how you treat your time, your energy, your word. Because time is the only currency that never refunds itself. And most people spend it like it's unlimited. The successful don't manage time better. They respect it differently. They understand that every hour wasted is not just lost productivity, it's a vote against the future they claim to want. So they become intentional, ruthlessly intentional. They build rituals that protect their focus. They say no without guilt. They stop confusing busyness with progress and start asking one question every day. Does this move me closer to the person I'm trying to become? This is where purpose enters the room. Not as a motivational phrase, but as a stabilizing force. Purpose is what keeps you standing when motivation collapses. It is the reason you endure loneliness, misunderstanding, and long stretches of silence. Purpose gives suffering direction. Without it, pain feels pointless. With it, pain becomes preparation. Napoleon Hill understood this long before modern psychology gave it language. He saw that the mind, when given a clear target, reorganizes itself. Thoughts align, decisions simplify. Energy stops leaking into meaningless battles. The person with purpose stops arguing with reality and starts commanding it from within. But here's another truth few people want to face. Your environment is either reinforcing your future or eroding it. Every conversation is conditioning you. Every screen you stare at is shaping your expectations. Every person you tolerate is influencing your standards. And if you don't choose your environment consciously, it will choose your limits for you. The great builders of history were obsessive about what they allowed into their minds. They guarded their attention like a fortress. Because attention is life force. Where it goes, momentum follows. Most people are exhausted not because they do too much, but because they do too much that doesn't matter. Learning becomes sacred at this level, not casual learning, not scrolling for inspiration, but deep applied understanding, the kind that reshapes how you think, not just what you know. Every successful mind is a student, first curious, humble, relentless in its pursuit of truth. And yet, even with knowledge, even with discipline, even with clarity, fear will still show up. Fear never disappears. It just changes its disguise. Sometimes it looks like logic. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like waiting for the right time. But underneath, it is always the same voice asking the same question. What if you fail? The successful ask a different question. What if I don't try? Because regret is heavier than effort, and the pain of staying the same eventually outweighs the pain of change. When that realization hits, action becomes unavoidable. This is where faith steps in, not religious faith, but faith in cause and effect. Faith that disciplined action, repeated long enough, produces results whether you feel confident or not. Faith that unseen progress is still progress. Faith that the seed grows underground long before it breaks the surface. And then one day, almost without warning, alignment turns into acceleration. Small wins stack. Confidence compounds. Opportunities appear where obstacles used to stand. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You move differently now. You speak with intention. You think in years instead of weeks. You understand that success is not loud, it's precise. It's built in silence and revealed in impact. But even here, humility remains essential. Gratitude deepens. You recognize that every level comes with a new responsibility, not just to earn, but to embody. Not just to achieve, but to lead by example. Because real success is not measured by what you accumulate, but by what you activate in others. And this is where the final transformation happens. You stop chasing success. You start expressing it. Your work becomes a reflection of who you are. Your presence carries weight. Your consistency inspires without explanation. You no longer need validation because your identity is no longer negotiable. This is the truth most people are afraid to accept. Success demands everything you are, but gives back everything you become. It will strip you of illusions. It will test your patience. It will force you to confront your weaknesses and either refine them or be ruled by them. But if you stay the course, if you refuse to quit when quitting feels reasonable, something extraordinary happens. You realize you were never chasing success at all. You were chasing alignment, and success was simply the echo. The world does not need more noise. It needs more individuals who are disciplined, awake, intentional, and unafraid to commit fully to their vision. Decide who you are. Decide what you stand for. Decide what you will no longer tolerate from yourself. Because the moment you decide with finality, life listens. And history always remembers those who chose courage over comfort, clarity over chaos, and purpose over fear. And at this stage, something profound settles in. Not excitement, not hype. Certainty. A quiet, immovable knowing that you are no longer negotiable with your old self. This is where ego dies and destiny begins. Because ego wants applause, speed, recognition. Destiny wants alignment, patience, precision. Ego asks, how fast can I get there? Destiny asks, who must you become to deserve it? Most people never cross this line. They turn back the moment comfort is threatened. They romanticize the idea of greatness but flinch at the loneliness it requires. Because becoming uncommon means separating from the common. It means walking paths no one understands yet. It means being misunderstood before you are admired. Napoleon Hill wrote about this moment without naming it. The moment when desire stops being emotional and becomes non-negotiable. When quitting is no longer an option, not because you're strong, but because turning back would feel like betrayal. This is where character is forged. Here, discipline is no longer something you force. It becomes who you are when no one is watching. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall or rise to the level of your identity. An identity is built through repeated proof. Proof to yourself that you do what you said you would do. Proof that your word carries weight, even in silence, especially in silence. At this level, setbacks don't shock you anymore. You expect them. You understand that resistance is not a sign you're wrong, it's confirmation that you're growing beyond what's familiar. Pressure becomes feedback. Pain becomes instruction. Failure becomes data. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this shaping me into? That single shift changes everything. You begin to see life as a training ground, not a battlefield. Every delay is refining your patience. Every obstacle is sharpening your strategy. Every lonely season is teaching you self-reliance. And gratitude deepens not for comfort but for growth. Because now you understand something most never do. Easy lives don't create powerful people. Pressure does. Responsibility does. Commitment does. And slowly, inevitably, the external world starts reflecting the internal order you've built. Opportunities don't arrive as miracles, they arrive as logical consequences. People trust you without knowing why. Doors open because your presence carries certainty, not arrogance. Certainty. You no longer chase validation because you've already validated yourself through action. You don't need motivation speeches anymore because your life has become one. And then comes the final realization, the one that changes how you see success forever. Success was never about money alone, or status, or freedom from work. It was about freedom from inner chaos, the freedom that comes from knowing you are living in alignment with your highest values, from knowing your days are intentional, from knowing your effort is honest, from knowing that even if everything disappeared tomorrow, you could rebuild. Because the real asset was never external, it was you. Your thinking, your discipline, your vision, your resilience. This is why success cannot be taken from you once it is earned correctly, because it is no longer something you own, it is something you are. And this is the truth most people are afraid to accept. There is no shortcut to becoming yourself, no hack to self-mastery, no escape from responsibility. But for the few who choose to accept this truth fully, to stop negotiating with fear, to stop waiting for permission, to stop outsourcing belief, the reward is inevitable, not just achievement, but peace. The peace of knowing you did not shrink. The peace of knowing you answered the call. The peace of knowing that when life tested you, you did not look away. Decide today, not emotionally but finally, who you are willing to become. Then let your actions speak so consistently that doubt has no place to sit. Because when intention is clear, discipline is steady, and purpose is alive, the world has no choice but to respond. And long after the noise fades, long after trends change, long after comfort proves empty, Your legacy will remain, built silently, deliberately, and unbreakably by the decisions you made when no one was watching. That is the truth about success.